All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to be talking about audit readiness. And for a lot of companies, just hearing those words can kind of bring on a cold sweat. But what if? What if you could flip that whole script? What if audits went from being total chaos to being a real strategic advantage? Well, that's exactly what this DVMS revolution is all about. So let me ask you something. Is your organization actually audit ready? Or is it more like audit scrambling? You know what I'm talking about. That frantic last minute sprint to pull everything together just in time. If that sounds even a little bit familiar, then you are definitely in the right place. Okay, so first we have to talk about the problem. We're calling this section the old way audit chaos. And honestly, that's exactly what it usually is. We're going to break down why the traditional way of preparing for an audit is, well, pretty much broken. And this slide, wow, it just nails the situation perfectly, doesn't it? On the left, you have the dream, this nice, smooth state of continuous compliance. But then on the right, you've got the reality for so many of us, which is that last-minute hamster wheel scramble right before an audit hits. It's just a stressful and super inefficient cycle to be stuck in. And that scramble creates some very real pain. I mean, we're talking about being buried in manual processes, endless spreadsheets, grabbing screenshots, all of that. All the documentation gets pulled together just weeks before the audit, which of course is the worst possible time to discover all the gaps and risks. The whole system just seems designed for inefficiency and, honestly, for making mistakes. So we've seen the chaos. Enough of that. Let's pivot and talk about the solution. This is where we introduce a totally new way of thinking about governance and compliance. It's called continuous readiness. And the engine driving this whole new approach? It's the Digital Value Management System, or DVMS for short. So what is it really? Well, to put it simply, it's a single, unified governance model that's all driven by evidence. And its entire reason for being is to get organizations to a place where they can continuously pass their audits. This quote really just gets right to the heart of it. A DVMS transforms audit readiness from a reactive exercise into a continuous, integrated capability. It's all about a fundamental shift in mindset. You stop preparing for an audit, and you start always being prepared. Big difference. Okay, so that all sounds great in theory, right? But how does it actually work? Let's pop the hood and get into the specifics with the DVMS toolkit. We're going to see how it actually delivers on that promise of continuous readiness. The whole DVMS approach really stands on these four key pillars. First, you unify all your different compliance frameworks. Then, you automate how you collect evidence. Third, and this is crucial, you align compliance with your day-to-day operations. And finally, you use all that data to drive constant improvement. For now, we're really going to dig into those first two pillars, unifying and automating, because they're the foundation for everything else. So let's talk about that first pillar. I mean, the challenge for most companies is just a nightmare of juggling multiple, often overlapping frameworks. You've got CMMC over here, ISO 27001 over there, HITRUST, and trying to manage them all separately is just a ton of duplicated work. So, how does DMS fix this? Just look at this table. You take one single control, like access management. Well, that can help you satisfy requirements across CMMC, ISO, and HITRUST. The DMS actually maps all these overlaps for you. So one action, one piece of evidence can check the box for multiple frameworks. That is a massive, massive time saver. And what about collecting all that evidence? This slide shows the difference, and it is night and day. The old way is that manual grind, digging up screenshots, hunting through spreadsheets. The DVMS way? It's automated. It pulls data directly from your systems. We're talking time-stamped logs, config changes, patch statuses. You get this continuous, verifiable audit trail that's just always on. And see how that connects back to that third pillar, aligning with operations? The evidence is just a natural byproduct of your daily work, not some separate fire drill you have to run. Now, you might be wondering, okay, that's cool, but will this actually work for us? And the answer is almost certainly yes. This whole system is built to scale. For smaller organizations, it simplifies compliance, so you don't need a huge team. For big enterprises, it helps you manage all that complexity across different departments. The key thing to remember is that readiness becomes a function of the system, not the size of your company. Look, just passing audits more easily is already a huge win, but the real power of this system goes so much further. Now we're talking about moving beyond just being compliant and into creating a real strategic advantage, turning what everyone thinks of as a cost center into a true competitive edge. And here's the big idea, the huge mental shift. With a system like this in place, audits are no longer a disruption. They become a validation of your performance. Just think about that for a second. An audit stops being this moment of fear and becomes a moment to prove just how well your systems are running. It completely reframes the entire experience. And that shift, it delivers a huge payoff for the business. You're giving your board actual assurance that the company is resilient. You're creating clear ownership and accountability inside the teams. You're building incredible trust with your auditors and stakeholders. And the best part? By having this constant stream of performance data, you're not just proving compliance, you're actively driving improvement, which is that fourth pillar. You free up your leaders to stop fighting fires and actually focus on innovating and growing the business.
So as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this one question to really think about for your own organization. Right now, is your compliance program a burden you just have to deal with? Or could it actually become your biggest strategic advantage?